Hey everyone, welcome back to Roy English Talk, the show where your English takes flight one episode at a time. I'm your host, Natasha, and today's topic is something that could completely change the way you approach learning English. You want to speak English fluently, confidently, without pausing every 2 seconds to search for words. You've probably tried grammar books, speaking apps, maybe even joined a conversation club. But what if I told you the real key to fluency isn't your mouth, it's your ears? Yes, your ears are the secret weapon in your English journey. In this video, we're diving deep into why most learners are missing the number one skill that actually builds speaking fluency and how you can start changing that today. Let me ask you, have you ever understood English grammar but couldn't follow native speakers in real conversations? Do you freeze during small talk, even though you know the vocabulary? Do your sentences feel robotic, even though you're practicing daily? If you said yes to any of these, there's a high chance your listening input isn't doing its job. And that's a game changer. Here's what most courses don't tell you. Listening isn't just a way to test comprehension. It's how your brain learns to speak. Just like babies don't talk first. They listen for months before uttering a single word. Your fluency starts with what you hear. And yet, most learners focus on output, speaking, writing, repeating words, without first feeding their brain enough input. It's like trying to cook a meal with an empty fridge. Your brain needs examples, rhythm, sounds, sentence flow, all things you get through consistent listening. In this video, I'll show you why your listening habits might be holding you back, how your brain processes spoken language, and why it needs massive input, the two types of listening, active and passive, and how to use both to train your fluency. My favorite real-life English resources you can plug into today, and a simple daily strategy to build fluency just by listening. If you've been stuck on a plateau with your English, this video might be the breakthrough you didn't know you needed. Let's flip the way you learn English, starting now. Section 2. Why most learners struggle with fluency. Let's get real. Most English learners aren't struggling because they're lazy or not smart enough. They're struggling because they've been taught the wrong order of learning. We're told to study grammar rules, memorize vocabulary lists, do fill-in-the-blank exercises, and then, magically, we'll speak like a native. But that's not how language works. Not in real life. The truth? Fluency is a listening-first skill, but listening is often treated like a secondary, passive activity, something you do after you've learned enough. And that's the trap. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a student named Anna. She's been learning English for 5 years. She knows verb tenses, she aces written tests, and she can write paragraphs. But when she watches a movie without subtitles or talks to a native speaker, she freezes. Words fly past her ears and nothing sticks. Why? Because Anna hasn't trained her ears. She's trained for exams, not for life. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. Most learners are overloaded with output pressure. Speak more, write more, practice more. But they don't get enough input. And without input, your output has no fuel. Language isn't math. It's rhythm, tone, timing, emotion, context. And all of that lives inside spoken language. You don't memorize it, you absorb it, like music. Now, think about how you learned your native language. You didn't start with grammar rules. You listened, constantly, to your parents, to cartoons, to conversations. You were soaking up thousands of hours of language long before your first word. So why do we skip that step when learning English? Another reason learners struggle is this. They think listening means understanding every word. But fluency doesn't require perfection. It requires pattern recognition, not translation. In fact, one of the biggest mindset shifts is this. You don't have to understand 100% of what you hear to learn from it. You just need consistent, rich exposure to real English. But here's where it gets tricky. Many learners don't realize they're stuck in textbook listening. You know the kind. Slow, robotic classroom dialogues. That kind of listening won't prepare you for real conversations with fast, natural English. What you need is exposure to real, authentic English, accents, speed, slang, emotion, variation. That's what teaches your brain how English actually sounds. And once your brain knows the sounds, fluency becomes automatic. So if you've been practicing speaking but still feel stuck, look at your input. What are you listening to every day? Is it natural? Is it challenging? Is it real? Because fluency doesn't start when you open your mouth. It starts with what enters your ears. Section 3. The brain science behind listening and language. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to pick up languages effortlessly, while others struggle for years with little progress? The difference often isn't talent. It's how their brain is being trained. Let's talk brain science. Your brain is wired to learn languages, but only under the right conditions. And one of those conditions is comprehensible input. This is a concept from linguist Stephen Krashen, who proposed that language acquisition happens best when learners are exposed to language they mostly understand, but that's slightly above their current level. In simple terms, you learn fastest when your brain is challenged, but not overwhelmed. And how do you deliver this kind of input? Through listening. Here's why listening is so powerful. When you hear real English consistently, your brain starts picking up on patterns in sentence structure, the natural rhythm of speech, common word combinations, chunks, pronunciation and intonation, and even meaning from context. All of this happens subconsciously. You don't need to memorize. It's happening in the background. Think of your brain like a sponge. When you're exposed to authentic spoken English, it starts to absorb these patterns naturally. Over time, you develop what's called implicit knowledge, that automatic feel for what's right in a sentence, even if you can't explain the rule. This is the same process babies go through. They don't study grammar. They absorb language through repeated, rich listening. Now, compare that to traditional classroom learning. You're often forced to focus on explicit knowledge, rules, exceptions, definitions. While useful, it doesn't help you speak fluently in real life. It's like trying to ride a bike by reading a manual instead of getting on the bike and riding. Listening creates a shortcut to fluency by directly feeding the brain the kind of input it was designed to process. Real, meaningful language in context. There's also something deeper going on. Studies in neuroscience show that when you listen to natural speech, multiple areas of your brain light up. Auditory, memory, emotional centers. That's because speech carries emotion and intention, two powerful ingredients for long-term memory. This is why you can remember lines from a movie or lyrics from a song without trying. Your brain locks onto meaning and sound when it feels emotionally engaged. And here's the kicker. You don't need to understand every word for your brain to start making connections. In fact, struggling a little while listening is good. That's when the brain is working hardest to decode meaning and adapt. So what does all of this mean for you? It means if you want to speak fluently, you need to spend less time obsessing over grammar and more time letting your brain hear how English actually works in real life. Your ears feed your fluency, literally. The more real English you hear, the faster your brain builds its internal model of the language. And once that model is strong, speaking becomes natural because your brain already knows what sounds right. Listening isn't passive, it's brain training. And if you do it right, it's the fastest, most natural path to fluency. Section 4. The power of passive listening. Imagine improving your English without even trying. Sounds too good to be true, right? But this is exactly what passive listening can help you do. Let's break it down. Passive listening means absorbing English while doing something else. Walking, cleaning, cooking, commuting. You're not focused 100%, but your ears are still picking up the sounds, patterns, and rhythm of the language. And guess what? Your brain loves this kind of input. Here's the science. Even when you're not consciously paying attention, your auditory system is working. Your brain is detecting patterns, storing pronunciation models, and connecting meaning from context. especially if you're already familiar with the topic. Think about how you remember songs or movie quotes without trying. That's passive learning in action. Now, this doesn't mean passive listening replaces focused study, but it fills a crucial gap: time and exposure. To reach fluency, you need thousands of hours of English input. That's the truth. And passive listening lets you sneak in those hours without burning out. It turns dead time into language time. Let me show you how it works. Say you listen to an English podcast while folding laundry. You might not catch every word, but over time you start to. Notice how native speakers link words together, absorb common expressions, naturally tune your ear to different accents and speeds, even if you miss details. Your brain is building its English sound map. This map becomes your internal reference for how English should sound, and it silently upgrades your speaking. Here's an important tip. Choose content that's just slightly challenging but enjoyable. If you're bored or confused, your brain tunes out. But if it's interesting and you understand 70 to 80%, you'll stay engaged, even subconsciously. Podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube interviews, even reality shows, they all work. The key is consistency. Set a goal. 1 hour of passive listening every day. That's 7 extra hours of English a week without changing your schedule. Another trick? Repetition. Listen to the same content multiple times. The first time you'll catch the main idea. The second time you'll notice vocabulary. The third time you'll start hearing intonation and emotion. This kind of listening layers your understanding, deepens retention, and makes English feel natural. Passive listening also reduces pressure. You're not forcing yourself to perform. You're just exposing yourself to the real language. It builds confidence and familiarity, which later becomes fluency. One common mistake: thinking you need to understand everything. You don't. Your goal isn't perfection, it's immersion. Think of your ears as language antennas. The more signals they receive, the sharper they become. So if you're short on time or tired of studying, remember this. You don't always need to sit down with a textbook. Sometimes the best English practice is just letting your ears do the work while you live your life. Passive listening won't give you instant results, but it's a silent force that transforms your English in the background. Over weeks and months, the impact is massive. If you want to make fluency part of your lifestyle, not just a study habit, this is your secret weapon. Section 5. Active listening techniques that work. So far, we've talked about the power of listening and how even passive listening can transform your English. But now we're going a level deeper. Welcome to active listening, your fluency accelerator. While passive listening builds your language atmosphere, active listening is targeted training. It's where you sit down with a piece of English audio and work it like a gym workout. And trust me, the results are incredible. Let's break it into practical, proven techniques. 1. Chunk listening instead of listening to an entire podcast or video straight through. Break it into chunks, 15 to 30 seconds. Listen to each chunk multiple times. Ask yourself, what did I hear? What expressions did they use? How did the speaker sound emotionally? Then play it again and again. With each repetition, you'll notice new layers: pronunciation, stress, flow. This is training your brain to hear and feel English more deeply. 2. Shadowing this is one of the most powerful fluency techniques ever. Here's how it works. You listen to a sentence, then immediately repeat it out loud, trying to match the speaker's tone, rhythm, and pronunciation exactly. Not just the words, the sound. This builds your pronunciation, your confidence, and your speaking reflexes. It forces your mouth to follow your ears. Over time, you'll start sounding more natural without even thinking. Start with short sentences, then work up to longer ones. Use subtitles at first if needed, but try to wean off them. 3. Write what you hear dictation. Choose a short clip and try to write down what the speaker says. No pausing. Just listen and type or write. Then go back and check against the transcript. This trains your listening precision. It forces your brain to focus on exact sounds, not guesses. It also shows you where your ear is missing things, like connected speech or fast contractions. 4. Key word extraction as you listen. Pause after each sentence and jot down the main idea or key vocabulary. Not the whole sentence, just the core meaning. This builds comprehension and memory. You're learning to focus on what's important and filtering out noise, just like in real conversations. 5. Question the audio after each section. Ask yourself, what is the speaker trying to say? How do they feel about it? What tone are they using? This turns listening into engagement. You're no longer a passive receiver. You're mentally interacting with the speaker, which supercharges retention. 6. Repeat listening sessions don't treat English audio like disposable content. Re-listen to the same video or podcast 3 to 4 times across several days. Each time you'll hear something new. This spaced repetition deepens your understanding, boosts vocabulary retention, and improves your ability to follow natural speech. 7. Transcript alignment. Find content with subtitles or transcripts. Listen once without reading. Then listen again while reading. Finally, listen a third time without text. This 3-pass system helps you catch missed words and understand how written English transforms when spoken naturally. Now, how do you fit all this into your routine? Here's a simple weekly formula. 2 to 3 sessions of shadowing, 10 to 15 minutes each. 1 dictation exercise, 1 longer listening plus transcript analysis, daily passive listening in the background. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be consistent. With just 30 to 45 minutes of intentional listening per day, your fluency will begin to shift dramatically. Active listening is where the magic happens. It's where the skills of listening, speaking, and thinking in English converge. It's where you begin to own the language, not just understand it. And here's the best part. You can do this with any content you love. Movies, podcasts, YouTubers, TED Talks, interviews. The key is choosing audio that's interesting and repeatable, because the more your brain enjoys the process, the faster it learns. So, if you've been stuck in a study routine that feels boring or ineffective, switch it up. Make listening the heart of your learning. And when you do it actively with intent, the results will surprise you. Section 6. Real-life listening resources and how to use them. So, now you understand how listening shapes fluency, and you've got techniques to train your ears actively. But the big question is, what should you listen to? This is where many learners get stuck. They either choose content that's too easy and boring, or too hard and frustrating. The sweet spot? Content that's authentic, slightly challenging, and enjoyable. Let's explore the best real-life listening resources and how to use each one effectively. 1. Podcasts are gold for language learners. They're real, unscripted, and cover every topic under the sun. White heavy checkmark try. Luke's English podcast, Teaching Plus Comedy. All Ears English, conversation-based. The English We Speak, BBC, short and idiomatic. Directed how to use. Start with episodes under 20 minutes. Listen once passively, then replay actively using shadowing or keyword extraction. Note expressions or idioms that sound natural. 2. YouTube channels. YouTube is full of amazing teachers and native content creators. White heavy checkmark try. Speak English with Vanessa. Practical fluency tips. Real life English, natural listening immersion. Rachel's English, pronunciation focus. Native channels on topics you love, tech, travel, food. Direct hit how to use. Turn on subtitles first, then replay without them. Comment what you learned. It builds confidence. Shadow small clips to improve rhythm. 3. TV shows and movies. These give you natural speed, emotion, and body language all at once. White heavy checkmark try. Friends, Brooklyn 99, Modern Family, great for dialogue. Documentaries like Planet Earth or Explain direct hit how to use. Watch with English subtitles. Rewatch scenes 3 to 4 times. Try repeating short dialogues out loud. Focus on intonation. sarcasm, emotional tone. 4. Audiobooks. Audiobooks are great for extended immersive input. The narration is usually clearer than real conversation, making it easier to follow. White heavy checkmark. Try The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, Atomic Habits by James Clear, short stories by Roald Dahl, or classic fairy tales. Direct hit. How to use. Listen while reading the book or ebook at first. Use slower playback speed if needed. Re-listen without the text to build confidence. 5. Apps with real audio. Apps like LingQ, Yabla, or YellSA Speak offer real English audio with transcripts and interactive tools. Direct hit. How to use. Set daily listening goals. Use the transcript to identify unknown words. Focus on repeating chunks, not just individual words. 6. Real conversations. Nothing beats real-life English. Even if you're not in an English-speaking country, you can simulate this. White heavy checkmark. Try language exchanges on apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, or Speaky. Join Zoom meetups or online English cafes. Volunteer for English-speaking events. Locally. Direct hit. How to use. Record your calls and listen back. Write down moments you didn't understand. Then replay, research, and relearn. Use the phrases you hear in your next conversation. No matter what you choose, here's the golden rule. Listen to what you love. The more emotionally connected you are to the content, the faster your brain learns. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need consistency. Make real English part of your daily environment, and you'll be shocked how fast fluency follows. So now you know the truth. Fluency doesn't begin with speaking. It begins with listening. If you've been chasing perfect grammar, memorizing vocabulary, or forcing yourself to speak before you're ready, now's the time to pivot. Because the fastest way to sound fluent is to listen like a native. Let's recap the key ideas from this video. Most learners struggle with fluency not because they're lazy, but because they're missing one essential habit: consistent, real-life listening. Your brain learns to speak by first hearing, just like a baby. Passive listening builds your language environment, while active listening sharpens your pronunciation, comprehension, and speaking reflexes. You don't need a classroom. You need the right ears and the right input. Podcasts, YouTube, audiobooks, real conversations. All of them are tools waiting to power up your fluency. And you don't have to understand every word. You just need to show up daily and let your ears train your brain. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to at least 30 minutes of real English listening every day. Mix passive and active methods. Use the strategies we covered. You'll be amazed at the change, not just in how you hear English, but how you feel when you speak. It's time to stop stressing about mistakes and start building fluency the natural way, through exposure, connection, and daily input. You've got this. Your ears are your superpower. Now it's time to use them. If this video helped shift your mindset, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more practical, brain-based strategies to become fluent in English. Your fluency journey starts now, with your ears leading the way.